How did you get your first screenplay optioned?
There was a screenplay that I wrote with a writing partner of mine, actually. It was actually about a story about Vince McMahon and the World Wrestling Federation, in case you know wrestling. But I happened to be really into that world growing up, watching it as a kid. And there was a particular event that occurred within the history of wrestling that is known as the Montreal Screwjob. And I really, really loved this idea, and I kind of thought, hey, this would make a really great screenplay. So I sat down with my writing partner and I did what I don't recommend anybody do, which is we just decided we were going to write this thing that we had no rights to. We had no connection to WWE in any kind of way. It was just a story that we were really passionate about. So we wrote this screenplay, and my agent at the time, I told him, I was like, hey, I'm working on this thing. I think it's a really great idea. And he was like, okay, well, you don't know any of these people. You don't have the rights to that story. The only way that this is going to go is you're going to have to write this thing, and you're going to have to send it to WWE, and then they're going to have to miraculously want to read it, and then they're going to have to actually want to like, or they're going to have to actually like it, and then they're going to have to actually want to option it, because you're dealing with an IP that they own. And sure enough, we got lucky and we wrote the thing, and we were just confident with what we thought we were writing, and we sent it over to my agent, who got it in front of the people over there, and they read it, and they really, really loved it. And they decided to option it from there.
How long did it take you to write the screenplay?
That one probably took from the time when we thought of wanting to do the idea to the time that we actually finished it, it probably took a year, but not necessarily like a year of straight sitting at the computer writing. It was just doing a lot of research, thinking about the idea, thinking about if this is an idea that we want to spend time writing. And then the actual writing process probably took 4-5 months or so.
And so did you have a plan that if WWE passed on it, the script was done? There was no going further on it?
I think we were just too naive at the time to think that this was probably not worth writing, or maybe I think from an outside perspective, I was like, well, if it's good, it's good. If someone wants to make this, who really knows? Maybe someone will spearhead it. So we just were passionate about it, and we just were like, okay, well, we'll write this, and hopefully it gets in the right hands and they like it.
And has it been made?
It has not been made. I think it's gone around. I mean, it's one of those things where we were just writers on the script, and we kind of sent it off, and they decided to option it. And I actually don't know how much they've sent it around. I've had it come back to me where I've been in general meetings with other producers, and I've made mention I wrote the script and blah, blah, blah. And they'll say oh, actually I read that. And I think it's because maybe it did get sent around a little bit. But yeah, I'm not currently in control of it. So it's just sort of out in the filmmaking ether.
Is this something that you and your writing partner would duplicate again today? If you think just the naivete of just being young and eager and wanting to do this was kind of the forces were behind you, and today, knowing more, you wouldn't have the same luck?
I guess I feel two ways about it. One is that, when inspiration strikes and you're passionate about something, by all means, just write the thing that you're passionate about. So on the one hand, I don't want to discourage anyone from writing the project or the story that they want to tell. But on the other hand, I do think that it's probably a lot better use of your time to work on a project or write something that you're passionate about, but is also doable, or doesn't require a lot of lawyers and IP contracts getting involved. Because even though that's a script that people really love, it's a complicated thing to make happen, because it's about real people and about a real life event. So that's definitely something that I learned over the years, and having written other scripts that have gone on to be optioned, those ones I realized, okay, I'm gonna focus on things that aren't contingent on a lot of other factors.
And what is the real life event? You said the Montreal
Yeah, it's called the Montreal Screwjob. There's plenty of, documentaries and YouTube videos that you can probably find out about it. But it is about Vince McMahon and him dealing with his the behind the scenes issues with some of his rostered talent.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I'm sure a very interesting, colorful world full of glam
Yes,
as well.
absolutely, absolutely.
And so, okay, so I'll Google that and see. Is this not safe for work conversation? Or?
Oh, no, yeah,
Oh, I
it's
see. I
totally
wasn't sure where we were going with it. Okay.
No, yeah, it's totally fine.
Okay, so some of the stuff behind the scenes, it was just competitors trying to take other people down?
Yeah.
Or, okay.
Well, I mean, without getting too long-winded for it, and this is me not having my logline pitch ready for you, but without getting too long-winded for it, it was at a time when Vince McMahon and his company, they were starting to go out of business, and Ted Turner had gotten involved in wrestling and began poaching a lot of talent to a rival company called WCW. So WWF had to kind of revamp their product, and they started to get a little more edgy and risky with the products that they were doing. And one of their superstars at the time was very uncomfortable with the direction they were going in, and he was their highest paid wrestler at the time, and that caused a lot of friction in the backstage. And Vince McMahon wanted to oust him from the company and get kind of a new generation of wrestlers in there. So there was a lot of friction, and then you had drama backstage leaking out into the onstage performance of it all, and life imitating art and art imitating life type of situation, which was really interesting.
So it'd be like if Film Courage wanted its screenwriters or filmmakers to start throwing chairs and fighting.
Yeah, yes, a little something like that.
Okay, right. Yeah. I think we've seen that before.
Not too far.
Other talk shows. Yeah. Right. And so really up the controversy factor and.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wow. I don't know much about the world of wrestling, but I know I find it fascinating, and just all of the show that's behind it. And
yeah, it is a very interesting world. I feel like there's nothing quite like it as far as like an entertainment art form, where it's this never-ending live performance soap opera that has no off-season.
Sure, and it seems like a lot of these wrestlers have turbulent lives off screen as well.
Yeah. A little bit celebrity actor meets, rock star meets athlete all in one.
Right, yeah. Fascinating. And so when you would watch WWE growing up, this was in the Bay Area, I guess?
Sure.
Who was your favorite? Was it like Rowdy Roddy Piper? Or forgive me,
Oh yeah.
Some of these I'm not.
All the classics, Hulk Hogan, growing up on that, Macho Man and Ultimate Warrior, and then later on, you have Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, and then you have Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock and people like that. So, all the generations.
Did you see Fighting with My Family about Paige?
I actually didn't see that one.
It's a great film. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah. I should check it out.
It's really well done, and I watched part of the documentary that was based on too, of how she would go to these matches and sort of, I think this is in England somewhere.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. She was very passionate about it, and it's kind of an interesting, like, based on a true. I mean, she's a real, actual wrestler, and they kind of made her life story into the film.
Yeah, and all the glam that's behind it, and tragedy too. So it's interesting. Did anyone try to talk you out of it and say, there's not? I mean, The Wrestler is a fantastic film. That one wasn't over the top glam, but did anybody try to talk you out of it? And say, no one cares about wrestlers.
I think that there are. I mean, there's no one that's like saying like specifically don't do it, but there's definitely when you talk about the idea, other people are like, oh, that sounds like a tough one that's going to be made, and I guess they're not. They're not wrong. They're not wrong.
But there was interest, and you had an option. I mean, that's
yeah.
There's something to be said for that.
Yeah, they definitely liked it, and it's they continue to re-up it.
Right, because I might not be the right demographic for that movie, but if I saw that advertised on the marquee, if theaters remain open, whatever, I would probably want to go see it. So
it's definitely an interesting, very complicated human story about jealousy and betrayal and deceit and things like that. So, you know, even outside of wrestling, it's very much almost like a Shakespearean kind of drama.
Right. Well, I hope it gets made. I'd like to see it. So
yeah.